Rob, the list of issues to discuss is long at this foreign ministers meeting, but it sounds like Russia is going to occupy a prominent place.
Yeah, I think so. But you're right. The list is going to be very long. You mentioned some of them. How do you respond if you're a part of the G7 in particular to COVID and post-COVID, climate change, Myanmar? As you say, it goes on and on. But there's no doubt that this is, first of all, a very important meeting. The first time the foreign ministers have got together since Dinner in 2019 when it was held in France. And symbolic too, because it's the first one since Donald Trump has gone. So a completely different attitude from the United States to the G7 and to alliances, Western alliances in general. Gone has the denigration of NATO and the European Union. This is about strengthening alliances rather than severing them. So that's a big change. Russia clearly, though, is going to figure very highly in how you respond to an increasingly aggressive Russia as a spoiler, as we saw, for instance, in its interference in the US elections with the solar winds hacking that Dominic Raab referred to in that clip you just played of the United States government agencies and big businesses. What should be the response? Raab was talking about creating a rapid rebuttal service to deal with trolling from Russia and disinformation. It's been thought about before and tried to a certain extent before without being particularly successful. But clearly, it is on the minds of the leaders of the key democracies how you respond to an aggressive Russia, not just on disinformation, but on Ukraine, clearly, where there's that big troop build-up on the border just a few weeks ago, and towards Georgia in the south. And there was an interesting approach which we saw from the European Union towards Georgia over the last few weeks. Charles Michel, the EU Council President, went to Georgia to mediate in an internal political dispute between the government and the opposition, which threatened to completely undermine democratic progress in Georgia. That is probably the first time we've really seen the European Union being proactive, getting properly involved in two countries which are neither members of NATO or the European Union yet, but which are friends of both those alliances and border Russia.
Russia, one major country that will be discussed. Another one, China. Rob, how do you see G7 countries being able to form a coherent position in their relation with China?
Yeah, it was interesting that Antony Blinken, the US Secretary of State, said the United States is not trying to bring China down, to get on top of China, to isolate China. It's simply trying to look for a way to deal with China and ensure that everybody follows the same rules of the game, the international rules of the game. The implication being, of course, that China is not doing that, particularly in areas like the South China Sea, its aggression towards Taiwan, and in other respects as well. Blinken has been highly critical of Chinese policy towards the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang province. US has imposed sanctions on China, followed by the EU, UK and Canada. That is the sort of approach I think that the United States is looking for from the G7. Alliances of the like-minded. And it's for that reason, I think, that the foreign ministers of India, South Korea and Australia have also been invited to this G7 meeting in London. Because it's those clusters of alliances of the like-minded that I think that they see the way forward in dealing with China and Russia as well.